Things might get weird.
Yeah.
Welcome to our life. We're glad you're back with us at the Hewlett house as we continue the conversation from last time's episode. Hope you enjoy. I don't know. Those are just some of the things that I learned, and I learned that His grace is way bigger than I ever thought it could be.
Yeah.
I think that His grace encompasses everything. I mean, everything. Where you just thought, before I had this smaller view of, but you still can't this, and this, right? Like, you can step out of line a little bit here, and you can always repent. But I just have learned that, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. We talked in Sunday school yesterday. They were talking about Moses. I didn't know this, that like he'd killed a couple of guys.
Yeah, Moses laid it down.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it wasn't like Nephi, like God told him to do it, you know?
Yeah.
It was like he just did it. He was like mad or something, is what they were telling me.
Nephi cut a head off or something.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I need to brush up on my scripture, but
yeah.
But I was like, wait, what? That happened? Like, we can't comprehend.
You probably knew at some point. Yeah.
I'm sure, but
I couldn't even tell you all the stories either. I know. It's
but
whatever. Yeah.
You can't even comprehend like His grace. Like, you think about your love for your kids.
Yeah.
And like magnify that by like a bajillion.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, in
a bajillion's not an actual number.
Yeah, to maybe further validate my comment, like I just felt like I was kind of always just trying to do what God wanted me to do. But I think at the end of the day, like, if it's good, we came here to experience life, I believe, and have experiences and learn and grow and try some things out for ourselves. Like, agency to me is like the biggest blessing and greatest gift God has ever given us.
Yeah.
And I think he wants us to use that. And when we go to him for every little thing and we're not getting answers, I think he just wants us to make a damn decision. Like, just decide and go with it. And you can always change it, you know, but try to see it through till you know it's not the right decision. And we talk about me learning hard, but I think I've learned to kind of slow things down and be more patient as I get older, but jumping from thing to thing to thing, like that's not healthy either, but just seeing things through and giving it a hard, honest try. And if it felt okay, and sometimes things might feel right that end up not working out the way we thought, but there's lessons learned in it, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yep. So lots of lessons learned, lots of hard things to overcome, figure out, work through.
Yeah.
But in the end, I wouldn't change any of it. I think I
think
it's made us better people, more Christ-like, if you would, even, because I feel like we understand people a little bit better, understand to look a little bit deeper instead of the quick judgments.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's cool. Did you have more stuff about therapy you were going to talk about, or did you get it out? You tried to find a local. Sorry, maybe I was going to throw this in there. Did you talk about trying to find a local one, and then you went online?
Oh yeah, my therapy process was not great.
And then you did it for a little while, and she kept, oh, this is funny, actually.
Oh, you want to go?
Yeah, you need to tell this. I'm like, we missed something on there.
therapist.
Yeah, you need to tell this story because it's pretty funny.
I was trying to just scooch on by that. It's fine. Yeah, so I went to therapy.
Tell as much as you're comfortable. I think it's a funny story. You should tell
I don't freaking care. This is what we're here for. We're just getting raw and vulnerable and call it a day. I went to this lady, and I felt like she just ended up, like, I had this laundry list of things that I wanted to go through. And so I get there, I kind of like throw out the whole list when I first started. But she just honed in onto that I needed to just take more time for myself. She's like, you should do you and take care of you a little bit more. And I was like, for sure. Like, I get that 100%. But I felt like she would tell me something. She's like, yeah, so like schedule a massage once a month or schedule something to do. And I was like, okay. So I would take that. And then the next time I came back and I'm like, you know what? Actually, yeah, I go get my lashes done once a month. and I have a scheduled bunko.
Lashes are like every 3 weeks, right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So not even once a month, like every 3 weeks, even more.
Yeah, I just want to have a record of how often you go do that.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're a pretty low maintenance chick, so
That is my one thing.
yeah, you do your own nails.
It's because I am so
your
low
sister
maintenance.
helps with your hair whenever you decide to take care of it. It's beautiful. I'm teasing. It's great. Sorry, I'm gonna just totally continue.
It's fine. It's fine. So anyway, so I felt like she just like put me in the box because I told her that, yeah, I'm doing these things. Look, I'm like, here's my list you told me to do. I checked off two things instead of just one.
I did bunko and nails in the same week.
Yeah. I'm like, I did 2 things for myself. I did it.
It's the same 2 things I've been doing for like 5 years now. It's great.
So, but I came to her and I was like, listen, yeah, I'm doing these things that you told me to do. So let's move on to the next thing on the list.
Yeah.
She wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I felt like she just like left me in this box of like,
yeah.
oh, she's this Mormon mom that doesn't make time for herself, that, you know, just
she doesn't have a job. She's got 4 kids.
Yeah,
and
I'm a stay-at-home mom. And so what she needs is just to take care of herself more.
Yeah.
And I felt like she just kept telling me that was the case over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah, that's right. This is actually one of the things I had to make this episode since we're re-recording. I told her that her therapist was totally right, and I don't think she clicked on a personal level with his therapist, but your therapist was totally right, and you've done a better job the last few months.
I get it.
And I think I've been trying to do better in some ways that have helped you
and
too.
Supporting that.
Yeah, but I'm not the greatest at it. Like, I complain every time. Or a lot of times I just don't say anything, and I think you take that as me complaining, but it's better than not. I've learned to try to just shut up sometimes, believe it or not.
He just doesn't say anything. I know he's probably pissed about it, but we just do it anyway because...
Yeah,
well, not even necessarily pissed, but like we just know it makes your life a little bit harder, but it's okay.
Mine or the kids. A lot of times it's Maddie watching the kids till I get home if it's later or whatever. And
yeah, but I just, you know... We both know that I need it, so I just am like, we're just doing it. It's just happening.
Yeah, so I teased her. I was teasing you in the last one that you thought your check boxes of having bunko and getting your lashes done. And one of those activities you usually take Gwen with you to do your lashes. So you're laying on a bed with like this, what is it, a couch or a bed or wherever she sits you, and does your lashes, and you're wondering what Gwen's doing the whole time. Like, it's not an actual like quiet time that you get just to yourself. Like, even I get a drive home between my office and the house where I can just like, it's actually why I don't love talking on the phone while I'm driving, because it's kind of my time to listen to music or a podcast or a book.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times that's the release I get, like the personal time or the time to be present for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I try to get up super early and go to the gym, because it's the only time our house is totally quiet. You know?
What?
And so you need it. She was trying to tell you to like, you need to go do more stuff for yourself. And like, you're like, this lady's just not getting me. And I'm like, she's right, Jess. Like, she's totally right. At least I didn't lie to you. At least I was honest.
No, and I knew she was right. I knew I needed to do that. But my problem was like, okay, I get it. Now let's move on, because I've got more stuff that I need to take care of too. Like, we need to hash out too.
Yeah.
That was the only reason why it was hard, because I was like, okay, please stop putting me in this box. Because, like, anyway, there were other things. It was almost like she put
you in the box of like, poor Mormon mom that has too much going on, that just needs a break, and she's here seeing me. So here's all the medical papers for this.
I think it's even a mom thing in general. I don't even think we need to say it's a Mormon mom thing.
Well, you made the comment last time that she was like, she had familiar. Well, I remember you mentioning that she had familiarity with like with our church at least. Yeah. And then it's pretty well known.
She never said either way, but I really did feel like she was on the opposing me. And that's really why I left, is because I felt like maybe she's like, yeah, I've worked with people in your situation before, which was like sweet at first, but then I kept feeling like she was defending you all the time instead of defending me. And so I was like, okay, that's fine, but I'm always defending him too. I need somebody to defend me this time.
Sad. I never even got to know this lady. It sounds like we would have been best friends. I don't know.
Probably
Give me your info. I need to see a therapist. Just kidding.
Anyway, no, it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm not feeling better about myself here. She just keeps telling me the same things over and over. So,
Yeah, and in case we haven't said this enough, with this is probably too much, but like therapy, this is something for sure. Like if you want to save your marriage, definitely try it, because and do your best to find somebody that can sit and meet with you, because this is, or in any relationship, if it's a son or a daughter, like try and understand them, because they're not different. They're not, they're the same person. They're just trying to understand some things that they didn't before.
You mean people that are going through?
Yeah, anybody
your
that's going through
situation.
this, like I feel so like lucky that we just worked it out the way we did, even though it's still not perfect and there's still things we're trying to figure out along the way. Like it's cool. I just want people to know it can work, and there has to be probably an overabundance of communication, an overabundance of honesty, and from my perspective, realizing that I can't be too judgmental of you either and your processing of it, you know, because it's really easy for it to become one-sided in both scenarios, for you and for me.
Yeah, and everybody wants to be right?
Yeah, and we just want an answer now, and like it sucks because you have to work through it, and it's part of the process. But one thing, if I haven't mentioned this either yet, was in one of the nice things is as I talked to finally found some friends and people that I could talk to about it. Even the one that told me early on that I went to lunch with, like, hey, talk to your wife. He told me, well, it was funny because early on, people told me before it ever actually got bad and I went through all the stages of grief.
Yeah.
I had multiple people look at me and say, it does get better. Like, it will get better. And I'm like, oh, okay. And there were a couple times I heard that. I'm like, what do you even mean? Like, what are you talking about? And as it got heavy, I understood it.
Yeah.
And then you come out the other side and you're like, oh, okay. It does get better. The
hope for the light at the end of the tunnel still was you had that knowledge.
Yeah, and I think the blessing for me, at least, I'm sure there's people where it's damaged some relationships, and hopefully this podcast doesn't do it. Hopefully people can see us for who we are, but like I felt blessed and lucky that I just came out the other side with my whole family still intact, and those I love and want close to me, like I have more of them, you know?
Yeah.
And we're really fortunate that way.
Yeah, and I think on my side, being on my side of it, right?
Yeah.
I think that the thing that helps me get through it, because there are things, you know, like I said before, it's like, okay, this like threatens the eternities, right? For us, quote unquote, it threatens the eternities. But for me, I knew and know, again, back like God's grace and God's love, and I knew and know, I have learned to know and understand and love your heart, and know that you're doing what you feel is right, and I'm trusting that. And I think that both with my knowledge of you and knowing God's love and knowledge for you, I just know and have faith, or I guess I have faith. I don't know anything, but that God's going to work it out. And that's not for me to worry about.
Yeah. Well, you already, like, the fact that I felt like I was supposed to do it, and then it has ended up the way that it has, at least to me, is at least to some degree, has been confirmation enough for me that I'm on the right path, you know. And I really am at peace with everything where I'm at. If I wasn't, I would say it.
Yeah.
You know, like things are great right now. And I guess some advice I would give to somebody that, let's say it's a parent or a spouse or something, like, one way to think of them is like, what if you weren't related to them and they left another church to join yours and their whole family had outcast them? Because my stepmom actually got baptized in the Mormon church and her family didn't love it in the beginning. Yeah. And they're close now, but I remember, like, some of them were like, what are you doing? Yeah. You know? Yeah. She's a convert at, like, 40 years old or something like that. And she still did it, and we welcomed her with open arms, like, in the church. Everybody was super nice to her. But I would hate to, like, if she goes and believes in it still and everything's great, but I'm like, what if she left sometime and then felt that same, you know, had those same feelings leaving, that negativity. Yeah, but she got the negativity from the people that welcomed her in with open arms, you know. It goes two ways. It does, like, with everybody. And so the only way to really get down to it is, like, really try to see things through their eyes. Like, what are they really struggling with? Because there's deep, sincere questions going on inside that need addressed. And even if it's just like a hug and an I love you and I'm sorry you're going through this right now. Like, just be a buddy, you know?
And our job being the outside perspective, our only job is to love, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we kind of talked about
and
this.
if we love like God would love us, or that anyway, if we do what God has asked us to do and just love one another, even though we don't have to agree, that's totally fine. But just trust God that he's got it figured out.
Yeah. I think there's like, this is a whole other subject, so I won't get into it too much, but I think that a lot of us in the church, there's like righteous judgment and there's judging and all that stuff, right? And I think that we're here to help people and love them and learn to find that unconditional love. And I think that there's people on both ends of the spectrum that just approach things differently. But you have those on the far left that are probably like, love and that's all you need and you're going to make it and you don't have to try. And then you have those on the other side, on the right side of everything, that are like maybe really far right, that are, love everybody, but you shouldn't be doing this and you're going to go to hell for this and this is bad, right? And everything after the love everyone but, like everything after the but, to me, unless you can genuinely from the right place and the best part of your heart and mind help them, leave all that to God or someone else that can actually help them. Like it's not your job to fix them.
Yeah.
Maybe you can help ask them questions. And sometimes that's our own trial is trying to find a way to love them and still keep them a priority, even if they don't see things the way we do. It's so silly to me.
Just offer, hey, if you ever want to chat, let's chat, and leave it at that, as opposed to trying to force whatever.
Yeah. And you made this, it's silly to me, at least now, like it's silly to me to ever not like somebody because they look at something different than I do.
Yeah.
Even some of my close friends, like we disagree on things all the time, but we still love each other. They're still friends and family that I have that I would do anything for, even though they might think differently than me and name the subject, whatever.
Right.
And it's not my job to change that. And if I have a chance to actually help them, I will. Or I hope I will, you know?
Yeah. Well, and
and it all sounds good in theory. Like everybody's probably like,
it's easier said than done.
Yeah. And it is hard. I get it for sure.
Yeah. But it's their journey to have and their journey to work through. And we just love them through it.
Yep.
Or love each other through it.
For sure.
And I get where you were saying like, oh, just love them and let them do whatever they want. But the thing is I don't feel like you're just doing whatever you want. And I think that that's a majority of the case. I don't think people are just like, I just want to do what I want, so leave me alone, Yeah. I think people that go through this, that's not the case from what I hear.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
I would agree for the most part.
And it's harder. Yeah. It's almost harder than to just let it be.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I had someone one time tell me that I talked to them I don't know, a few months ago, and they said they no longer believe this, but it was an interesting theory when I first heard it that for every year that you had been in the church, it takes about 1 month to like get your head right after going through a faith crisis or a faith transition or something. And I'm like, But I don't agree with that either. I think some people heal a lot faster, or they have their questions or their concerns answered a lot faster. And for me, it just mine was probably more of a normal path, frankly, but really processing everything and figuring it out. But
it probably all depends on what hiccups you have and everything too.
Yeah.
What things don't jive with your spirit.
Yeah.
So anyway, lots of ups, lots of downs. Good, bad, ugly, but again, I think majority of it was good. And a lot of good lessons and a lot of good, I don't know, I think I was able to be there for some people that had confided in me and not in the exact same situation, but spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that was helpful and good.
Yeah.
But or maybe open their eyes to see things a little bit differently instead of so
Yeah.
scary, if you will. I don't know. So
Yeah,
was
it's
good.
interesting, huh? Because a lot of times you just assume that everybody's just on the same path you are. I think a lot of times, especially if they're going to the same church you are, and
Well, and this is what this is for.
yeah,
Let's open up. Let's talk. Let's like get real. It's okay.
yeah, it was definitely surprising to me to find out, like, as I got into it and had talked to a few people, how many other people had
Yeah.
gone through the same thing, and I'm like, oh,
Or even not even like going through the whole thing, but just dealing with like some questions,
yeah,
just certain questions.
yep,
I have quite a few friends that I was like, oh, I never even figured,
yeah,
that this would bug you or that this wasn't quite hitting right or,
yeah.
so.
And maybe it was like a midlife crisis to a degree for me too, because I was like, I started kind of questioning everything. Like,
Well, you almost have to. And the one thing that was your guiding light.
yeah. Well, even down to like health, I'm like, why do I feel this like physically and even mentally in some ways? I'm like, my health feels off, and my health affects like how I feel and how I perform in my job and how I'm with my kids and my attitude
Right.
and my
Well,
temperament.
that's our freaking,
and
the American diet ruining
yeah,
all that. Anyway.
yeah. So we've looked into things like that have been helpful, and seeing different doctors and just getting more in alignment with our bodies and our minds and anyway, ask questions, explore, study, ponder, be sincere, be genuine.
I like your thing. Find what is like the guiding light and align your life towards that.
Yeah. And if it's not the right thing, if you're working towards it, whatever it is will reveal itself at some point eventually.
Yep.
Hopefully sooner than later. I don't know.
It's all good.
Yeah.
All part of the journey.
Yep. And maybe as we learn it, kind of how to, I will say this maybe in closing, because we talked about the kids for a minute. I talked to Maddie. We started reading like the church essays together.
Yeah.
Right off the LDS website. And
Figured that was safe.
yeah, and I just thought maybe I'll start here with her because she's older and she was kind of asking some questions. But as we got into studying, I could feel like it wasn't making her feel good, and it wasn't being helpful. And so we stopped. I just said, hey, whenever you're ready, the biggest thing we really try to push with our kids, and I think they're better at it with you than me, but we do have like, in our house, we really do talk about anything and everything, I feel like.
Yeah. We try and make this a safe space.
Yeah. And
For
so
them.
they especially with you, and then you're good about talking to me when I need to be involved. But I think even me too, for the most part, I feel like they'll talk to me about most things.
Yeah.
I'm just a bigger dick, so
Wow.
we're working on it, but I get angry faster. How's that? Sometimes I react and don't process first. That happens. I'll admit.
We all kind of have that, but yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I could just tell it wasn't the right timing for her. So I just said, hey, listen, any question you ever have, if you really want to talk about it, just let me know when you're ready to talk, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, and we've tried to do it where we do it together so that we can make sure that like we talk about it together, so we make sure that there's both of our belief in that certain subjects or whatever
Yeah.
are being taught, so that I guess it comes down to, because we do have, I mean, for our core
Values and beliefs.
are the same.
Yeah.
But they're like the nitpicky things
Yeah.
that we're not aligned on all the time.
Yeah.
And so, so we try and make sure that we tell them both of ours, and it comes down to, they're going to they need to have their truth too. And so they know that like, we're going to teach you how we feel and we believe.
Yeah.
And let you decide where you're at.
Yeah. And regardless of what you decide, we love you no matter what.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be in the church your whole life and get married in the temple and that's what you want to do, we support that 100%.
Yeah.
And if you're you know, if a different religion or a different path is your way, then that's okay too. But just make sure you're constantly trying to have like that spirituality, that like, where is God in your life? You know?
Yeah,
I think
because
I think
that
that's
is
super
for sure
important.
important to us, is that they know God.
Yeah. I think it's important for everybody to acknowledge that there's a higher power than just
For
you.
sure.
Like, we are very small little specks on this little planet, just
But sometimes some people have to like
fragile.
have to have everything stripped away and start from square one too, you know?
Yeah, that sucks.
So I don't necessarily feel like that's a wrong path either.
Yeah.
So I guess it comes down to, I've learned to just trust God that he's got it worked out, and I just do my best in the meantime.
Yep.
So.
And sometimes your best may vary from one day to the next a little bit. But we just try to do a
hour to the
little better
next
every day, and in one thing, even just little improvements.
Yeah.
One thing that was funny that we, I know we're over time here than where we wanted to be, but you had it written down, and I was going to bring it up that
what?
my mom and my grandma,
Oh, yeah.
it was kind of timely.
Yeah, because we stopped talking about it, right? We stopped talking about where we were landing, or where you had landed.
Yeah, after blowing everybody up and trying to talk to people, even with my mom, we were having conversations, and I could feel that it was making her feel bad, and it was not a good thing.
Yeah.
So I stopped pretty fast. And then the other day we were all at lunch, and I left.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago and I left, and Jess was there talking to my mom, and my mom's like, "Can I ask you some questions?" And she's like, "Sure, yeah, of course." And by the way, Mom, if you're listening, and I've already told you this, but you can always you're never going to offend me ever. I love you
And me.
infinitely, no matter what.
We're pretty open. If you come to us with it, we're very open about it.
Yeah.
We just don't want to like cause a tiff.
Yeah. And she just asked Jess, like, what does Hayden not want to not talk to me because he's worried about hurting me, or doesn't want to hurt my feelings on things or worry me? And you said, yeah, that's exactly right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why he doesn't bring it up. But he'll talk to you if you want to talk about it. And I don't want her to ever feel like she can't talk to me. So, or like she's ever going to offend me ever.
Yeah.
Like, she's the reason why I have good things in my life. Like, a lot of it comes down to her. So
she's the best. It's
really that easy. So anyway, she was asking questions, and then that same day, my grandma, it was Taft's birthday, but my grandma Mona came by, dropped off a card, and wrote me a little letter with a little highlighted little church stuff info in it. Yeah. So it was funny because I called Grandma Mona and just said, "Hey, I love you so much, and if it's any consolation to you," because I figured it would be, that I just know that I pray every day and I believe in Christ, and just know that I may not be on the perfect path in your mind, but I'm where I'm supposed to be right now, and that's good enough right now.
Yeah.
And I told my mom essentially the same thing, but my mom and I had one of the best conversations I think we've had in a long time. And then we went to lunch and chatted some more, and I told her, I'm like, it's kind of funny your timing on this, because we're starting a podcast, and I even offered to her to listen to some of these episodes before we actually release them, just in case there's something we've said that, I don't know, we talked about some personal stuff with us and them, but she didn't seem too concerned about it. So I was like, okay. And then I did the same with my dad, and he never even responded. He's probably just like, you're a dumbass for even trying this, but go ahead, buddy. Hopefully we can get him on someday, because my dad is super cool. Like, I have really awesome parents, and step parents too. Like, they're great, you know, but I'd love to have him on sometime. And I don't know. Everybody always thinks my dad's way cooler than me anyway. He looks like he could be my brother. He looks super young.
I think you're super cool.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
But he flies helicopters, and like...
That's true. That's pretty cool.
I help people buy houses. I don't know. His job's a little cooler than mine, I guess.
Listen, as long as I get a parade a home ticket, I think it's the coolest job.
I have 10 of them coming.
Yes.
Or I should. I paid for them.
Can I have one?
I don't know yet. I need to see how nice you are.
You have so many friends you have to give them to.
Yeah, right. I got a couple for you.
Thanks. Anyway.
Okay.
That's kind of it, but we're open to questions too. So if anybody has questions of like how we've dealt with certain things, or I don't know.
Or how did you, or if you have advice for us that we could share?
Oh yeah, and that too.
How did you handle it with kids that were growing up like teenager age and younger? Like we have literally pushed this down their throat and brainwashed them for better or worse their entire lives. And now we're like, ooh.
Well,
or at least me, I'm like, there's other ways.
How do we do the balance of it all, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like we said, we're just doing it as this is what he believes, this is what I believe, and like I said, a lot of the times it's the same, but in the end, they're going to have their own spiritual journey anyway. So,
yeah.
So now I guess we just mainly are trying to open it up to let them know that it's okay and we love them anyway. So that's where we're at. Let us know if there's a better plan.
Yeah, please. We'd
That'd
love
be great.
to share, or if you want to come on. And
I thought it might be interesting to see, or to poll people and see if they had questions that we hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
That people may have had.
Like I have friends that have left, pulled their names off the records of the church, and then pulled their kids out too.
Yeah.
And they just did it all at once.
And I have friends that have left, have or haven't pulled names off, but still let their kids go or let their kids choose.
Yeah. Even Jack the other day asked, or it's been a couple months now, but it wasn't that long ago. He asked me, he's like, do you regret going on a mission? And I'm like, not even a little bit. Like, there was so much I learned from that, even from just a social perspective and a cultural perspective, and in learning, like, imagine shipping yourself off to another country or another state or in city for 2 years and having to cope in a whole different life experience. Like the things you learn from that.
Yeah.
And not to mention like the spiritual side of that, and then the long lasting relationships you have and the life lessons you learn there. Like it's.
Well, and you brought people to Christ regardless of.
Yeah. In my mind, I did, I tried.
Right.
But yeah, that's actually one of my biggest concerns for our kids. 'Cause I want them to learn, one, how to have a relationship with God, and then two, how to work hard. And I felt like it doesn't get a lot better than that experience.
Than a mission.
Yeah,
so
unless it's the military.
Yeah,
but military is just probably another great different way of doing things, but something that challenges the crap out of you.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Love you.
Love you most.
We just want to take a minute and thank you guys for being here with us and joining us on this journey. We'd love it if you could do us a favor and give us a rating and review. But also, we want to make sure that you don't forget that we have our amateur advice document. You can see the link to that doc in the show notes if you have any questions or concerns or topics you'd like us to cover. And you can also follow us on Instagram at THHpod, and you can ask us questions there as well. Thank you again so much, and hope you have a wonderful day.